The grand chamber of the Galactic Council shimmered with cold light as thousands of species gathered. Their voices echoed across the metallic dome, each trying to speak over the others. Holographic translators flickered as the air filled with tension. At the center of the chamber stood a single human delegate, calm but weary, his eyes watching as centuries of cooperation began to collapse before him. The negotiations had gone on for months, but no agreement could be reached. Humanity had joined the Council 2 centuries ago, bringing innovation, trade, and technology that changed the balance of the known galaxy. They had rebuilt broken economies, ended interplanetary wars, and opened routes once lost to danger. Yet now the same civilizations that once praised them were pushing them away. The issue had started small, a disagreement about resource rights on a neutral moon. But jealousy and fear had grown quickly. The Council accused humanity of overexpanding, of becoming too powerful, too independent, too unpredictable. Some species whispered that humanity's rise was dangerous, that their unity could one day dominate the stars. The human delegate raised his hand for silence. The noise died slowly, replaced by a deep, uneasy quiet. His voice was steady, carrying through the hall without anger. We came to the Council to build something greater than ourselves. But if our presence is now seen as a threat, we will not remain where we are not wanted. Whispers rippled through the crowd. The Council speaker, a tall, translucent being, shifted uneasily. Surely humanity understands that this is not personal. It is precaution. Your influence has grown rapidly. The balance must be preserved. The delegate nodded once. Balance, yes. But balance built on fear is not stability. It is control. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of every ambassador. We will withdraw from the Council and from all shared projects. Earth and her colonies will stand alone once again. The speaker tried to respond, but the delegate turned off his communicator badge, cutting the transmission link. The emblem of the Council on his uniform dimmed to black. Humanity's representative walked out of the chamber without another word. The silence that followed was heavier than any explosion. For the first time in centuries, humanity had chosen isolation. Within a single rotation, the withdrawal message spread across the stars. Human embassies shut down. Trade routes once managed by Earth's fleets went dark. The great orbital markets, where human merchants once filled the air with their energy and charm, fell quiet. Other species waited for panic to spread, but humanity did not react with weakness. Instead, they began to build. Across the Sol system, industrial worlds came alive. Shipyards expanded beyond orbit, building massive carriers and exploration fleets. The colonies on Mars, Europa, and Titan doubled their production. The outposts on the edge of known space were fortified, and new stations appeared where no one had seen human presence before. At first, the Council dismissed it as human pride, a gesture meant to prove independence. But as months turned to years, a new rumor spread among traders and explorers. Human space had changed. Ships that entered the borders of the Terran domain rarely returned. Those that did told strange stories. They spoke of fleets moving in silent formation, of planets covered with mirrored towers that reached the clouds, of new weapons that could bend light itself. But more disturbing were the words of those who had spoken to human captains. They said the humans were no longer interested in trade or diplomacy. They were preparing for something else. The Council grew restless. Economies began to shake without human technology flowing through them. The energy grids built with human expertise started to fail. Agricultural systems dependent on Terran-designed drones collapsed. Worlds that once relied on Earth's engineers sent desperate messages for aid, but no reply came. At first, the Council tried to send delegations to rebuild the bridges. None returned. Finally, 5 years after humanity's withdrawal, the Council gathered once more in the same chamber where the last human delegate had stood. The speaker's voice trembled as it echoed. We underestimated them. We thought their strength came from their machines, their numbers, their ambition. We were wrong. Their strength came from their unity. A representative from a reptilian race slammed his claw on the table. Then what do we do now? The outer colonies are starving. The routes we once shared with humans are collapsing. Even the defense networks rely on their designs. No one answered. Another representative spoke softly. Perhaps we should send an apology. Invite them back. Offer them partnership again. The speaker hesitated. They will not listen. They warned us once, but desperation outweighed pride. A new delegation was formed, carrying messages of peace, respect, and regret. They approached the borders of human space, broadcasting in every known frequency. No response came. The delegation continued deeper, escorted by small scout ships. Then, without warning, the void ahead shimmered. A fleet appeared, vast and silent. Hundreds of human vessels surrounded them, their hulls black as night, their lights forming sharp patterns across the stars. A single message arrived on all channels. "This is the Terran Command. State your purpose." The alien leader stepped forward on the screen. "We come to speak. The Council wishes to renew relations. The galaxy has suffered since our separation." For a long moment, no one answered. Then a human face appeared on the screen, expressionless. His uniform bore a new insignia, a silver circle crossed by a single line. "You cast us out. You called us a threat. Now you suffer the consequences of your choice. Why should we return?" The alien leader tried to speak, but the human continued. "In your eyes, unity was danger. In ours, division is death. You divided the galaxy and now it decays." The Council delegation pleaded. "We need each other. Without you, countless systems are dying." The human commander's tone remained calm. "Then you should have thought of that before you accused us of ambition. We built this galaxy's future once. Now we build our own." The communication ended. The fleet vanished into silent space, leaving the delegation adrift. They returned to the Council broken and silent. The report spread through the systems like wildfire. Fear grew stronger than pride. Rumors spoke of a new empire forming beyond known borders, guided by human will alone. Soon after, explorers detected vast energy signatures near the Orion Arm. Human vessels had begun constructing something massive, a network of ring-like structures stretching across the void. The purpose was unknown. Every attempt to approach was met by electronic silence or sudden disappearance. Some said humanity was building a new gateway network, beyond the limits of current technology. Others whispered that they were preparing a barrier, closing themselves off forever. But the truth came slowly and terrified them all. One night, across half the galaxy, observatories picked up the same signal, a coded transmission in an old human language. It carried only one phrase: "Do not follow us," and then, the stars near human territory began to change. Suns dimmed, systems vanished from standard maps. When probes were sent, they found nothing, only deep silence. Humanity was leaving not just the Council, but the galaxy itself. They had built engines large enough to move entire systems, bending space and gravity around them. They were relocating their worlds, taking their colonies beyond known space. The Council panicked. Without human trade, production, and knowledge, entire regions collapsed into chaos. Old rivalries reignited. Wars broke out between species that had long relied on human mediation. Amid the turmoil, some still tried to reach the humans. They sent small crafts to the edge of disappearing systems. A few managed to record the site before vanishing. They saw human fleets moving in perfect formation, carrying whole planets protected by energy fields brighter than any star. One scout ship transmitted its final words before its signal was lost. "They are leaving this galaxy. But they are not running. They are preparing." Decades passed. The galaxy continued to crumble. Without humanity, progress slowed to a crawl. Civilizations once confident now struggled to survive. Entire sectors turned dark. And then came the realization that chilled even the oldest species. Human probes still appeared occasionally. Not to attack, but to observe. They recorded the downfall of those who had turned against them. The probes never intervened, never spoke. They simply watched. On one forgotten world, a scholar studied the last human transmissions. He deciphered their meaning, though it brought no comfort. They warned us that fear divides. We let fear guide us. Now they watch to see if we learn. 100 years after humanity's departure, the Council, reduced to a fraction of its power, gathered one last time. The speaker, old and fading, looked across the empty chamber. "They taught us what unity could mean. We turned it into suspicion. Now we live in the shadow of what they built." A voice from the crowd whispered, "Do you think they will ever return?" The speaker looked toward the dark sky beyond the window. "If they do, it will not be as members of a council. It will be as something greater. Beyond the edge of known space, in the void between galaxies, humanity's new empire thrived. They had built cities that orbited artificial suns, forged ships that could cross intergalactic distances, and developed technology the Council could never imagine. But among themselves, they still remembered. They remembered the betrayal, the arrogance and the fear that had once surrounded them, and they vowed never to repeat it.